here's 5 campaign tricks to get the best of your dirty AI opponents in Total War Warhammer 3.
Number 1. Ambush Trap.
This first trick is as old as time itself. Let's say there's a couple of armies together. That could be, as in this case, a garrison and a large army, or it could just be 2 armies, 3 armies all stood next to each other. Basically too much for us to take on in one go. We want to divide those armies up to beat them one by one. So what we're going to do is send in a small bait army. This could just be a lord or a lord and a few units to make this army come after it because it's an easy target for them. And the AI just loves beating up an easy target, especially if they're in force march. But what we're then going to do is take our bigger, stronger army, put it in ambush stance in front of the small army, and with any luck we'll bait one of those armies into attacking us and they will get caught in the ambush. Thus we have now separated the army from that garrison, so now we can fight them one by one. Worst case scenario is the ambush would fail and you'd still have to fight the army, but at least we separate them from the garrison. And just another example of this with Kislev, there's a Saal army here. We're going to use this small little bait army just to draw that army in, just so we can get rid of it and we don't have to potentially fight it with the garrison nearby. And then the larger army is going to go in front again in ambush stance. But one extra thing to be aware of is the trees, because trees will increase your ambush chance. As you see here out in the snow, we've got a 40% ambush chance. But if we move up into the trees, it becomes a 70% ambush chance. So we can gain extra ambush chance by literally hiding in the trees. So if you want to set up an ambush, try to be aware of any trees around you because you could make some good use of them. And here, once again, we are going to get that ambush over the turn. And this can be done by any faction, and it's useful for any faction as well. Some factions will be better at it than others, but it's a great way to potentially divide and conquer enemy armies.
Number 2. Kill routing things.
So this one is going to be useful in a bunch of situations, any situation really where you fight an army and then are going to have to fight it again afterwards because it's not going to be completely killed off. As an example, this situation, I am besieging an Azazel settlement. His garrison army has come out to fight me. He seduced one of my damn armored Kossars though, but whatever happens in this battle, there will be another battle afterwards for me to actually take the settlement because this isn't that battle. Now, if when the battle finishes, you just hit end battle straight away, you may be missing out on a big opportunity to make that second battle a lot easier. Now, this is what the enemy army looks like, hitting end battle straight away. You can see some of the Chaos Warriors still in pretty good health, which means we're going to have to deal with them in the second battle. And these Trolls pretty much at half health, we're going to have to deal with them in the second battle. The Lord is still alive, and overall, we're going to have still a lot to deal with. But what we can do instead, when we gain victory and end battle pops up at the top of the screen, we can simply ignore it and keep going, trying to kill as much as possible. Preferably the more stronger dangerous units like the Lord here. If we can get rid of him, that's going to be really helpful. Or just any unit with a lot of health like these Marauder Great Weapons or Chaos Warriors here. Or the damn dirty Trolls, because if we leave them routing or if we just hit end battle, they will have the health that they have at that very moment. Like these Trolls, for example, there's 11 of them left in the unit. They regenerate as they're running away as well. But if we chase them down with our faster units, in this case the cavalry, you see, we can completely kill the unit off. And we can do this with whatever is left on the battlefield. Of course, some things will rout and get off the map before we can get to them, but as long as you've got a unit that's faster than the one that's fleeing, you should be able to catch them and do some damage. And what effect has this had on our end battle results? Well, as you'll see, the enemy army is a lot more deaderish than it was before. The Chaos Warriors are much more beaten up. The Trolls, one of them we managed to kill off. The other 2 escaped, but they're in much lower health. And here's a side-by-side comparison of the results on the left, not bothering to chase things off on the right. Obviously, everything's been killed. Even my own armored Kossars. I don't know how that happened, sorry lads. But you can see it's quite the difference. If you take that extra time to run things down at the end of the battle, you can really make a big difference to the next battle. As you'll see here on my turn now, attacking this settlement, there's barely any garrison there to defend it, and we can just get an easy, decisive victory auto-resolve. So in situations where there's going to be a second battle, it's worth chasing down those routers. You may also want to chase down the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. A VPN keeping your connection safe while you peruse the web. And with Surfshark, you can get that protection on every device you own, pretty much, even your telecommunications device or phone. If you want to use the Latin, it can protect you from all the hackerman attacks out there and also the big business trying to see what the hell you look at so they can target you with filthy ads, just like I'm doing. There's also a bunch of other handy little uses, like being able to trick Netflix into thinking you're somewhere else in the world so that it shows you all the shows from that version of Netflix. The same thing with YouTube as well. If there's a video you can't see in your country, well, just pretend to be in a country that can see it and it's yours. You also get Surfshark alerts, which can tell you if your email address has been compromised anywhere, Surfshark antivirus, which, would you believe it, is an antivirus, a private search engine, and the ability to create an alternative ID, which will basically give you a fake identity so you can truly surf the web anonymously. Say hello to Jimmy Elnora Exton from Australia, you f***ing wallabies. So what the hell are you waiting for? What the hell are you waiting for? Protect yourself with Surfshark VPN. You can even get a sweet deal right now using my name as your promo code to get up to an additional 3 months free. There's a link below in the description, or you can scan this lovely QR code. There is a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, so if you don't like it or you find you don't really use it, you can get a full refund. Thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video.
Number 3. Hit 'em deep.
So with this one, it's all about dealing with very large factions. Now, in this Skaven campaign here, I've turned off the Fog of War just so we can see an example of a very large faction. Like the Dark Elves, Malekith always is one of those big, huge factions who takes a lot of territory, often very quickly. And while it can be very intimidating when one of these huge factions declares war on you, it can actually be pretty easy to take them down, because as you can see here, the AI hasn't left any armies deep into its territory to defend. It's all just garrisons. All of their armies are over here attacking their probably one enemy, so there's like 7 armies in one spot right here. The AI tends to push all of its army to whoever it's trying to kill, and doesn't worry about anything else. So if I were to attack the Dark Elves, I would simply go to one of these points where they haven't defended at all, even with a cheap, crappy army, and I'd be able to take a lot of these settlements. A lot of them only have like 5, 6, 7 units, easy to beat with an army of 10 or 15 or even 20 cheap units. So as I say, hit 'em deep. Now, as an example of this, here's a big dwarf faction I'm at war with. I am Greenskins. I'm a pretty big faction myself, but you see, they've got a lot of armies here. This is kind of the front line. I've been tangling with them a little bit, but there's just too many armies for me to try and churn my way through. There's a couple more over here as well, and the AI can spawn up armies so quickly it can be difficult to get through them if we're fighting on this kind of imaginary front line we have here. So if you take the fight to them in the normal traditional way, then you're going to be pushing against them, they're going to be pushing against you, trying to take each other's settlements, when all the while their backline settlements are completely undefended. So all we need to do is sneak an army back there, while still of course defending our front line so they don't push us and take our settlements. But if we can just get a cheap little army, not that this one is, but if we had a cheap little army, we can just sneak back here, beat up these settlements, although dwarves, a little bit harder to beat up than most. As you see, I'll be able to run through and take out a bunch of their settlements, including their starting settlement, which is going to hurt them greatly. I am going to raise these settlements because I know if I take them, they're just going to take them back because I have no intention to defend them. But raising them up is going to hurt the enemy faction. They're going to have less money to deal with. They're going to have less recruitment options potentially. So basically, instead of trying to slog your way through the enemy from the front, you can sneak round and dismantle them from the back. Although in some cases, it might be a little bit of a suicide mission. But we've done another good thing here as well, because these 2 armies that have pursued us have now been pulled back from the front line. So they're chasing this army, they're out of the action on the front line, which then opens up the front line. So now my other armies over here can come and take out their settlements on the front line, and we'll gain that way. So it's kind of a win-win. If they don't come back to attack you deep in their territory, then you can just have a field day taking all their stuff. And if they do, well then you've taken them off the front line. So yeah, if you face a large faction, hit them deep instead of on the front.
Number 4. Siege Isolation.
Another classic trick here for dividing armies. You see this Bretonia settlement, it's got a big army inside, it's got a big army outside and a garrison, and that's a lot to fight in one go. So what we're going to do is send in just a single lord to besiege or encircle the settlement, and that's going to trap both the garrison and the army inside the settlement from getting out, which means they can't reinforce when we attack their army outside the settlement with our main army. So instead of having to try and fight 3 armies with our 1 army, we've taken one of them out with ease, and now we've got a 2-on-1 situation, which still might be tough, but certainly better than a 3-on-1 situation. And again, another one here, not as essential as the last time, but still, we've got a garrison with a reinforcing army outside, so we pin the garrison in the settlement and then use our main army to take out the extra little army nearby, and it's just going to break the enemy armies up into chunks rather than having to face it all in one go. And one more example, just to make sure we get the point. Dwarves here defending one of their settlements. They're just on the edge of the reinforcement zone. So we're going to send in the smaller army, not just a single lord in this case. Any other second army will do the job. Of course, this army stands no chance of winning this battle, but if they simply besiege them, they'll be able to separate the garrison from the army outside, and our main army can then try to kill them off. But in this case, we're just going to chase them off, but still, it makes taking that settlement much easier. So siege isolation, another form of dividing enemy armies.
Number 5. It's a raw emergency.
So So we've all had that situation where an enemy army comes out of nowhere and is clearly going to attack one of our settlements, and we know it's clearly doomed. Even though there's a garrison there, it's not enough to stand up to what's coming. We do have a fairly sizable garrison at this settlement, but it's all clan rats and Skaven slaves, so, you know, nothing that'll be able to deal with the Chaos Dwarf's heavy armor or that Lord and Hero. So fair to say, oh scheisse, we've lost this settlement. But let's rewind and try that again, but this time let's call the Raw Police. To do that, we're going to have to get ourselves a new Lord. Any old Lord will do, probably a melee one might be better generally. And then we're going to use them to recruit some Regiments of Renown units, assuming of course we have unlocked some, because they can be instantly recruited and used as a kind of backup in emergency situations like this, where we're going to lose a settlement. So I've got a bunch available. I'm going to choose the ones best fitting for taking down Chaos Dwarves. I'm going to try not to use all of them, just in case I need some again for another Raw emergency. So we can insta-recruit basically an extra garrison army. And this time over the turn, instead of just attacking us, they are besieging us, which we can win with a Pyrrhic victory on auto-resolve, so this has indeed saved the day. It doesn't matter if we lose the garrison units, they'll come back. And as for the raw units, well, when using them like this, I tend to just get rid of them straight away afterwards, so it doesn't matter if they die as well. They will take 10 turns to come back, of course, but still, you've saved the settlement. This will also obviously require you to have some money in the bank to be able to afford them in the first place. And this can be done at any point in any campaign really, as long as you've unlocked some of those Regiments of Renown. Here for Kislev in Castle Alexandrinov, constantly attacked by Norscan factions. You see I've only got 2 units here, but that could be enough. The garrison isn't bad, but there is a full stack coming for us. It's got loads of berserkers in there. And with a little help from these 2 extra missile units, Regiments of Renown, very strong damage dealers, we're able to get a close victory auto-resolve. Maybe we could even get better than that if we fight the battle and use those units well. But yeah, this can be a great use of Regiment of Renown units. Of course, some of them are cool and you want to use them in your armies, go for it. But it's good to have some of the maybe ones you don't really care so much about as a little backup reinforcement emergency raw army. But there we go, 5 little tricks to help you beat the AI into the ground. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all the patrons who support this channel. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. I'll see you in the future.